What's up, everyone, and welcome back to ClearTalk. So as you can see, we're back out here. We're back out here at the fire pit to have another talk. I told you yesterday that I was gonna have a video. I was gonna talk about white people. I did a video a couple of weeks ago about the fact that racism was back. That ultimately, MAGA is a representation of racism that it still exists in the United States, that never went away. They are they are quite literally the cult of white supremacy. That whether or not they would accept, or whether or not they would even admit or not, that's what they are. And I said yesterday in a video, because it was crazy. I come across a video a few days ago, talking where literally this white woman was arguing with people about white people being native to America, native to this land. And I made the comment in my video yesterday about that. It's crazy to think that people in this country actually literally think that white people are inherent, or that we are native, that we have always been here, always belonged here, and that all these brown people are the immigrants. That the brown people come in here. This is supposed to be a white nation, and all the white people are supposed to we are inherently here. This is our land, and these brown people are coming in and they're taking over. So we need to get them out, because the racial dominance theory kind of thing. That white people are, if we don't do something quickly to change this, that suddenly all of us white people are going to become the minorities, and that's a problem. And we can't have that. We gotta, because birth rates are down. We need to get white people to have more babies. We need to promote the nuclear family, aka white families, so we can have more white babies. Because all these queer and gay and lesbians and all this kind of stuff, that's preventing from babies. So we gotta promote the nuclear. It's not allowed that anymore. We gotta take all those rights away, if we can possibly take that away. The trans, the everything, all this is not what we call traditional, or consider traditional. We gotta make sure that white people get back to having those traditional family values, that male, female, so we can have babies and reproduce. We can have more white people here to maintain supremacy of race, or we will become minority. That's where racism stems. That's where white supremacy stems. The fear of no longer having the numbers. And that in itself should be eye-opening for you. Because why would you fear? Why would you fear being a minority? What would be a reason to fear being a minority? Think about that for a second. I mean, really, what would be the fear? It's like you are admitting without admitting the honesty, the truth, the elephant in the room. What white people have been doing to brown people for decades, for centuries. Because you know what you did. You know what our history, you know what the white history has done to black and brown cultures and communities throughout history. You know what the minority has been in white dominant areas. This is something that has stemmed for centuries now, from European white control and any kind of immigration from black areas or brown areas. This is something that is rooted in white history. And it's crazy. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that we have people who think that we're native here when we literally immigrated ourselves here. We're not inherently from here. The destruction and the hatred and the visceral, the dominance, the imperialism, colonial-like nature that we did coming over here from Europe with more advanced weaponry in a way that we could dominate the native people of this land, the actual native people of this land, the things that we did to them. And we think that that was so grand because the accomplishment of taking over the land and creating our own nation, because we hated where we come from. Because we didn't want a monarchy, someone in power controlling us. We wanted a democracy where we had freedom, but yet we, at the same time, wanted to argue dominance and control over the native people and what they, in ownership. You understand? Like, and if that wasn't enough, if all of that was not enough, then we turned around and brought black people from Africa and brought them over here to enslave them for us, ourselves, to do all the work, treating them like complete shit. I mean, the history that we have is darker than I think most white people understand. The things that were done to black people. The mistreatment that we would do on the way over here. And if they died from that mistreatment, we would just throw them overboard into the ocean. There were black people, we hung them, raped them, ripped their children from them. We literally burned them. Some even ate them and fed them to other slaves, forced them. We used their skin in some places for making like leathers and things like that, for making items. I mean, this is not even a joke. This is history. The things that we did, and people in that things that were done, is absolutely despicable. I mean, even here in Mississippi, there's history of people making leather, like belts, out of black skin. I shit you not, where I live. And while that might be very small, there might be those severities might be very small and minor, you know, over the whole entirety of everything that was done. But the idea is you can't forget the fact that these types of things were done. That we created a nation where people were supposed to have the freedom to do and live and prosper in pursuit of happiness, right? Which I argued, you know, I said it was very ironic, seeing as though that was all formulated and put into place and argued as like the democratic representative of the United States, and like what it was supposed to present, what it was supposed to aim in somebody living here and being a member of this society, of the United States, you know, civilization, the idea behind it. Yet at the same time, we had slavery, and we were treating black people horribly. And not only black people. This was a history that we've done with multiple people. Asians that came over as immigrants, we treated them like shit. Any Hispanics that have came over, we've treated them like shit. We as white, European, Caucasian, like, society and community and culture have mistreated many minority groups in this country so disrespectfully and shamefully. And yet we can't look back. We can't look back. There are some of us that can't look back and see this and understand this and think that now, just because over decades, damn near a century now, if we've tried. There are parts of the government, parts of people that have, you know, come through, and movements that happened, forging and pressure for more equality and more, you know, care and compassion for everybody, that legislation, policies put in place that will give more freedom and to try to repair, just try to start to repair all of these things that we've done to all these different minority communities in the history, the 250 years of history of the United States. And we were just starting 10 years ago, roughly, to actually get to a place where we were moving in a direction that actually represented the original thought, or a better version, rather, of the original thought of the United States. Because we know that the pursuit of happiness clause and everything, like, that was actually, honestly, just the pursuit of happiness of white people. We know that. I mean, if we're really being honest, that's what it was. But ever since about 2015, ever since coming off of the election of the very first black president, that put into a tailspin spiral all of the Americans, all of the white people who think that they should still have superiority, who think that they have been wronged by all of this growth and acceptance and building up of these other communities, giving them more freedom and giving them more accessibility and giving them, you know, access to hopefully at some point in the future be able to catch up. Like that was the idea. But no, that was too much. That was too much. The fear of becoming potentially a minority at some point in some, you know, in the future, or not having the privilege that you think is inherent to you because of your pride and nationalization and thought that you know, are native here and you have the rights to that privilege and nobody else does, no other minority group does. That was a step too far. That was a step too far. And ever since, you've been pushing and pushing and forcing your way into every facet of political influence, economical influence, to try to overturn all that. And you saw the useful idiot in Trump, his power-hungry greed and just natural racist tendencies that he has and always has had. The white dominance, the elite white dominance that he has, you use that as a means to the end of you gaining more control. And I'm speaking to you, MAGA. That's what you did. The white supremacists of this nation. That's what you've done. And to act like that's not a thing. To act like racism is dead. To act like you are now the one being racist against as much or more than all these minority groups that you have been racist to for all these decades and centuries, all this history. To act like you are now the one that is being victimized. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And I've heard it. I'm white. I've heard the arguments from the white community, from this MAGA community, from the white supremacist, racist, bigoted, hateful, victimhood people. I've heard all the arguments. You can't act like I'm privileged. You can't say I'm privileged. How am I privileged? I've been poor my whole life. I'm poor. I'm poor. What are you talking about? I don't have millions. Look at me. Look at me. I'm some even have called me that white trash, you know. What are you talking about? I'm not privileged. Have you ever really been that scared to be white? I mean, really, think about it. Have you ever been scared to be white? Have you been scared to get pulled over by a cop? Have you ever been really that scared to move into a neighborhood or something? Or to walk down the street? Have you ever witnessed yourself walking down the street and people avoid you? Have you ever been paid less than your counter person in a job that is of a different race? I mean, really. Have you been appraised on your home less because you were of a certain color? Not given loans because you're a certain color? Not allowed to a building because you're a certain color? Not allowed to vote because you're a certain color? No. Nobody is afraid or scared to be white. It's not a thing. And that's white privilege. The fact that you don't have to have the conversation with your kids about, like, what happens when something happens, some situation happens, just because of your color. Not because of, you know, the fear of, like, getting yourself in some sort of dangerous situation or something. No, but just because of your color. You haven't had to have that conversation with your kid. You haven't had to sit them down and be like, okay, because you're white, there are going to be things that you come across in your life that you're not going to be allowed to do, or you're not going to have as good of opportunity because you're white. No, that's not a fucking thing. It's not a fucking thing. Racism has nothing to do with how much money you have, whether you're poor or whatever. It's the opportunities that you have. It's being held back and oppressed. White people are not held back or oppressed. We never have been. So this victimhood shit that you got going on, acting like, oh, you're not going to get the job that you wanted because this brown person is taking your job, or this black person is getting your job because of DEI. No. DEI was just allowing and giving access to the minority communities that have been held down and oppressed for decades and centuries, allowing them the better opportunity that they would not have had otherwise, because your white ass would have been given that opportunity without even asking or anything. You would have automatically had the opportunity because you're white privilege. You didn't have to question that opportunity. That's what DEI was doing. It wasn't taking your job. It wasn't making it harder for you to get something. It was actually giving the access and ability for them to finally have the equal opportunity that you have, to put things more on an equal platform. And that's the problem. You can't take that. You can't stand that. You don't want to be equal to that black person. You don't want to be equal to that brown person or that minority person. You want to have supremacy. You want to not have to question whether you go into any job or any place and in any kind of way you be discriminated. You don't want that, because you don't want the history that you have placed on everybody else. That's too scary for you. That's what you fear. And in order for you to not ever have to think that that might be why, you make policies and you make systems, or you continue to try to take advantage of the system or reverse the system that was created to do those things, to make sure that you maintain your supremacy. And that's the problem. White people are the problem. We are a problem. The white community and those who think the MAGA faction of the white community is the problem, but they are not the only problem. All the other white people, like the anti-MAGA, the alt-MAGA, the however you want to look at it, the white people who don't have that mentality, who are the woke white people, like myself, I guess you could say, we are just as much a problem, because there's not enough of us speaking out. There's not enough of us talking about this and throwing it back in the MAGA type of people, the white supremacist type people, shunning them and condemning them for their actions, for their mentality, for acting like they need to stay supreme, that they are above others. We're not doing enough. We're not condemning them enough. We're not pushing back on them enough. The no kings and all the protests and things like that, the 5 to 7, 8 million people out of what, 300 million that live here or more, 350, whatever the hell it is. That's not enough. It's not enough. And you can make all the excuses, well, I had this or I had that, or I'm embarrassed, or I don't, I'm scared, or no, you're pussying out. You're allowing yourself to be silent, which in turn is being complicit. It's being complicit. For the sake of no argument, or for the sake of of hurting someone's feelings, actually holding them to their argument, holding them to account of their racist, bigoted shit, you just decide to not say anything. And that is as much of a problem as those who speak loud, because they don't have a problem with speaking up. They do not have a problem with being loud. They do not have a problem with speaking their mind. Why do you? And I understand, the idea of maturity is to listen more than speak, and to recognize that sometimes not saying anything is more mature, because you're using your mind over like your emotions. But when it comes to these types of just ridiculousness, this type of just regressive, hateful opinions and ideology, they need to be put back. They need to be pushed back on. Somebody needs to speak up against it. And the difference can be that even though you are speaking out, your words and stuff need to be more effective. They need to be more clear. They need to be accurate. They need to be pinpointed. And that could be the difference. While their words are just spewed of hatred and chaos and ignorance, your words can be precise and accurate and to the point, and actually making a point. It's okay to speak out and say something if there's a true purpose behind it, like a effective purpose behind it that will actually progress conversation, that will actually progress civilization as a whole. Because staying silent isn't going to do a fuck shit about for anybody. You're just being silently complicit in allowance of what's being said and what's being done, and not fighting back, not pushing back. No, progression in society has never happened without speaking out. Never. It has never happened. The suffrage movement, the civil rights movement, all these different things in history, none of it happened without speaking out, marching, making your voice heard. Staying silent did not fix anything or help anybody. It allowed for what those loud people that can't shut up to just keep getting away with what they're getting away with. So we as a community, the white community as a whole, is a problem. And it needs to be more speaking out. We can't allow for these racist, bigoted, hateful, egregious people to continue getting away with their loud nonsense. I mean, literally just a couple of days ago, there was a white supremacy march through some city, I don't know which one, in Virginia. It was somewhere in Virginia. They were just marching around, walking around with their white, instead of a whole hood, they're doing the white masks with their American flags and their Confederate flags, walking and marching in unison. And people just watching them go by. Like, yeah, that's a thing, and it's okay, whatever. If you think that that's not a thing, if you think that racism is not that serious, if you think that racism has been solved, what are you talking about? We elected a black president. That means racism's dead. Are you serious right now? You've quite literally voted for a con man, rapist to be put in office just to make sure that the first black woman didn't get elected. And let's be real, that's what it was. You couldn't stomach another black person getting in office, and a woman on top of that, because you don't want the first woman to be black. That would be heresy. If we're going to elect a woman, it's got to be a white woman first. What? So no, we're gonna elect the elite billionaire nepo baby who proved it his first time all he wanted to do was make millions and enrich himself and be as chaotic as possible. The only thing that prevented him from doing so was people actually being in positions to push back on him and pull back on him and be like, yes sir, we can't do that shit. That's not what happened. No, that's crazy. Why? No, we can't do that. No, what? No, no. Wait a minute. We gotta be adult here. You put him in position again of power. This time allowing him to have all the yes men that he could around him so that he could get away with all the fucking crazy, chaotic bullshit enrichment of his entire fucking family and all the elites and people in power. Oh, and Israel. Let's not forget that. A man who back in 2015 and 16 talked about, the fact that Israel had too much influence, the APACs and all these, special interest money. He talked like that, all the big game of trying to get rid of that, and then turns around. At this point, he is full on enriched by all of those and in full compliance with all of that special interest money and Zionist ideology. You would rather defend and protect and keep that in office because he has people around him that is promoting the nuclear white family, the immigration status of getting as many brown people out as we possibly can. Oh, and allowing the Supreme Court, allowing all the southern states to cut out all the black representation in their states, if all possible. Quite literally minimizing and oppressing brown and black people so that you have all the white representation and all the white control that you can possibly have in government and in positions of power and any type of influence and policy, legislation driven whatever. All so that you can own the woke people, because we're crazy. The libtards. You say that I'm radical and crazy because I actually want a society that cares about everybody, that provides for everybody, that assists and helps everybody, that doesn't try to oppress and hold back anybody, that inherently provides health care, adequate health care available for everybody, child care and assistance for everybody, the right to decide what you want for your life, whether you want to have a child or not, or how you want to have that child and bring them in, or whatever way you want, like, to have that freedom to do so. To have the freedom for an education and to aspire for whatever career you want, however you want to provide to back to the society and community and to the country. That pursuit of happiness, not being forced into slave labor and doing something that you can't stand to do all your life, just so you can make CEOs and all the rich elites as much money as possible to drain from everybody else and hold us all down. Wait, no. To not get in endless wars, upending global, economy and relationships, causing chaos all over the world. Like, actually being compassionate to other countries, actually trying to be diplomatic and working with them, having good trade with them, honest, dependable, trying to help build them, make them better, instead of strip and take as much as we possibly can from them because we're selfish. And that's what this all, that's the difference. That is the fucking difference. Understand, that is the difference. My wokeness is on compassion and love and caring and selflessness. Your bigotry, hatred, ideology is based in selfishness. That's what white supremacy is. It's selfishness. The fear of no longer remaining in dominance. The selfishness of you getting the privilege and ability and the access to things and nobody else having that ability and access. That is not of the same color, of the same culture, of the same opinion as you. It's the type of thing that you only find in, like, religious communities. That idea that only you have the religion, that you have the answers and meaning for everything, you have the one true God, or you have it's the same kind of mentality of a religious community, but within a race. The white race, those in the white race that think that way, that's their mentality, as if they are supreme. They are the only ones that have the right answers, and nobody else can touch that. And if you oppose or don't have that opinion, we've got to cut you out. We got to remove you. No matter what that might entail. To any degree. We don't care. In any disgusting way possible. This is a long video. Longer than it's always longer than I plan. But that's what we need. We need more people speaking out. We need more people condemning these hateful, evil opinions. They need to be called out. And it can't just be me or a few others on here, or even the 8 million people that showed up in a march. It needs to be everybody. We need more people standing up. If you have, if you feel this way, if you think that this is crazy and that you can't stand this section of the white population that act that way, that is racist and bigoted, the MAGAs and everything, like, then speak up. You can start small, within your community, within your family. Speak up. Because nobody's going to reach your uncle, your aunt, your mother, your father, your brother or sister, or aunt or uncle, whatever. Like, you're not going to reach, nobody's going to reach them like you might. And we all need to do better on that. Start small and it will expand and web out. Change the opinions. Let it be known that as a white community, if there's going to be a progression and growth in the white community for the future, allowing and like eliminating this supremacy ideology, this fear of being a minority or whatever, like, we got to push back on it, because we can't go back. We can't go back. That mentality was not what made America great. Again, I don't think America's ever been great. I think we were working towards greatness. We were on the path to greatness, but we've allowed people to get in power that is regressing and pulling us back, backsliding into the idea of make white America great again. That's what it truly is. And we got to stop it. We can't go back, because that will be the complete fall of this nation. Anytime any nation regresses and goes backwards, it is a downward spiral into the ultimate fall of that nation. You must continue to progress and to provide and to accept and to love and be care and compassionate from everybody. Not just yourself, and not just a specific type of people. If we really want to achieve greatness, we've got to end this regression that MAGA is trying to implement. That the white supremacists of this nation are trying to implement. Anyways, thank you for joining me. If you would like to check out more from the channel, please do so. I know I'm out here, I don't have all the stuff on the screen like I normally do in my studio, but check out the channel. There's links in the description. There's links on the channel to my other channels, to Patreon, to all that stuff. Check it out. Like, share, comment. Let me know what you think. And whether you agree, disagree, let's get it out there. Let's talk about it. And because we got to do better. We got to do better. We've got to educate our children better. We've got to realize our history better. Face the dark truth of what America of what the white community has truly done in history of America. Thank you. Till next time, peace. Clear Talk, I'm out.